Buckle up, folks, because you're about to witness a moment that rocked the world and left jaws on the floor. Imagine this Hollywood's cherished icon, Danny DeVito, the man with the infectious grin and razor-sharp wit, steps onto the Views set for what should have been a breezy chat about his latest project. But what unfolded was a seismic clash no one saw coming, a raw, unfiltered explosion of passion that turned a routine talk show into a cultural earthquake. The tension was thick enough to slice with a butter knife, and what Joy Behar said next will blow your mind. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single twist in this roller coaster of a story. It has more curves than a mountain highway. Let's dive in. It was supposed to be just another day on the View, the studio buzz with energy, bright lights, a lively audience, and a familiar chatter hosts prepping for their next guest, Danny DeVito, the pint-sized powerhouse behind classics like Taxi Twins. And It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia strolled in with his trademark swagger coffee mug in hand. He flashed that mischievous smile that has charmed audiences for decades. He was there to plug his latest project, a quirky indie film that had critics buzzing, and the vibe seemed light, almost playful. Host led by the ever-opinionated Joy Behar were ready to toss the usual softball questions about his storied career, comedic genius, and maybe a few laughs about his iconic roles. But oh how quickly things took a wild turn. Joy, with her signature sass and smirk, kicked off the interview. So, Danny, she began leaning forward with that telltale glint in her eye. You've been in Hollywood forever. You've seen it all, changes, trends, a whole shebang. What do you make of these young actors today? Always whining about something back in your day. People just showed up, did the work, and didn't make a fuss. Right? The audience chuckled, expecting Danny to nod along with a quip or two. But something shifted. Danny's smile faltered just for a split second. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he adjusted his grip on the coffee mug. Well, Joy, he said, his voice steady, but with a hint of steel. Every generation's got its own battles. These young actors today, they're dealing with stuff we never had: a social media, constant scrutiny, mental health challenges that nobody even whispered about when I was starting out. Joy, never one to back down, waved her hand dismissively. Oh, come on, Danny, mental health, social media pressure. Give me a break. When I was coming up, we didn't have safe spaces or self-care days. We had real problems, real struggles. These kids today, they're just soft. The word soft landed like a grenade. The other hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and Sunny Hostin, exchanged quick glances, sensing the air in the room shift. Danny's jaw tightened, his knuckles whitening around the mug, but he kept his cool. At least for now, I wouldn't call anxiety and depression soft, Joy. He said, his tone measured but firm. That's a pretty dangerous way to frame it. Joy leaned forward, undeterred, her voice dripping with condescension. Danny, please, you're from New Jersey, tough as nails. You know what real grit looks like. These Hollywood brats cry about their feelings while raking in millions. It's embarrassing. They should be grateful for what they got instead of whining all the time. Grateful. Danny's voice had an edge now sharp enough to cut through the studio's artificial cheer. Joy's success doesn't shield you from human emotion. Some of the most successful people I know have fought the hardest battles with depression, anxiety, you name it. Joy wasn't having it. She doubled down, her tone growing more aggressive. That's the problem, Danny. Everyone's a victim these days. Everyone's got a sob story about their struggles. Whatever happened to personal responsibility? Whatever happened to just dealing with your problems? Instead of making them everyone else's, the studio felt eerily quiet. The audience, usually quick to clap or laugh on cue, sat frozen, sensing the storm brewing. Danny's face was turning red, his breathing heavier, but he still held it together. Personal responsibility, huh? He said, setting his coffee mug down with a deliberate thud. So when a young actor takes their own life because they can't handle the pressure, that's just a lack of personal responsibility. Joy didn't miss a beat. If someone can't handle the pressure of being rich and famous, maybe they shouldn't have picked that career. Plenty of people would kill for those opportunities. The words hung in the air like a toxic fog. Danny's eyes widened, his composure cracking. The other host shifted uncomfortably, but no one dared interrupt. That's interesting, Joy, Danny said, his voice now dangerously calm. So you think mental health is just a choice? You think depression is just people being weak? I think people need to toughen up. Joy shot back, her smugness unwavering. My generation didn't have time for all this emotional coddling. We had real problems to deal with. Real problems. Danny's voice rose slightly, his New Jersey grit starting to show. Tell me, Joy, what real problems did you face starting out in comedy? What was so much tougher about your experience? Joy's confidence flickered, but she recovered quickly. We in a therapy on every corner or support groups for every little thing we had to figure out ourselves. Right, Danny said, his tone sharpening. You had to figure out yourselves, and how that work out for your generation. How many comedians from your era battled addiction? How many died too young? because they were just figuring it out. That's different. Joy snapped. Addiction is a disease. Mental health, that's just attitude. Danny's eyes nearly popped out his head. Did you just say mental health? It's just attitude. Did those words actually come out of your mouth on live TV? The tension was suffocating. The cameras zoomed in, capturing every twitch of Danny's face as his anger built. Joy, seemingly oblivious to the volcano shed, just poked, doubled down. Yes, I said it because it's true. Mental health is largely about mindset, your attitude toward life. Choose to be positive, choose to be grateful, and you'll be happier. It's that simple. Danny stood up abruptly, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. The sudden movement startled everyone, audience, hosts, even the crew. It's that simple. He asked, his voice booming. Joy, do you have any idea how ignorant you sound right now? Ignorant. Joy's voice pitched higher, her defenses up. I'm ignorant for believing in personal responsibility and positive thinking. You're ignorant for dismissing an entire generation's struggles. Danny fired back. You're ignorant for thinking mental health is just attitude. You're ignorant for sitting on this platform spouting dangerous misinformation about something you clearly don't understand. Producers were in a frenzy off camera, waving their arms, but Danny was a runaway train. Joy had lit the fuse, and there was no stopping the explosion. You know what, Joy? He continued, his voice filling the studio. I've been in this business for over 50 years. I've worked with countless actors, young and old. I've seen brilliant talents destroy themselves because they believed the garbage you just said, that their pain wasn't real, that they just needed to toughen up. Joy tried to interject. Danny, you're overreacting. Overreacting. Danny's laugh was harsh, almost bitter. I'm overreacting. You just told millions of viewers that mental health is an attitude problem. You just dismissed the struggles of everyone watching who battles depression or anxiety. And I'm overreacting. The audience was dead silent, transfixed by the raw emotion pouring from the normally jovial star. The other host sat frozen, unsure whether to jump in or let this wildfire burn itself out. Look, Danny, Joy said, try to regain control. I'm not saying mental health isn't real. I'm just saying people today are too quick to use it as an excuse. An excuse. Danny exploded, stepping closer to the panel. An excuse for what? Joy, for being human, for struggling. Do you think Robin Williams used depression as an excuse? Do you think Philip Seymour Hoffman used addiction as an excuse? These were brilliant people fighting battles you can't even imagine. Joy's face reddened, her defenses crumbling. That's not what I meant. And you know what I'm talking about. Entitled young actors who play the victim every time something doesn't go their way. Entitled. Danny's hands gestured wildly, his passion uncontainable. You want to talk about entitled? You're sitting here on national TV with a platform reaching millions, spreading ignorance and stigma about mental health. If that's not entitled, I don't know what is. I have every right to my opinion. Joy shot back, her voice shrill. This is America. I can say what I think. You absolutely have that right, Danny said, his sarcasm biting. And I have the right to tell you your opinion is dangerous, uninformed, and frankly disgusting. The word disgusting hit like a thunderclap. Joy's mouth fell open, stunned by the directness. Excuse me, did you just call my opinion disgusting? I called it what is, Danny replied, unflinching. It's disgusting to minimize people's pain. It's disgusting to perpetuate stigma that stops people from getting help. It's disgusting to use your platform to spread misinformation that could cost lives. Joy stood up now, matching Danny's fire. How dare you lecture me on my own show? I've been doing this for decades. I don't need some actor telling me how to do my job. Your job, Danny laughed incredulously, is your job to spread ignorance, to shame people for their struggles. Because if that's your job, you're killing at the studio. Was a pressure cooker. The cameras captured every second of this unprecedented showdown, and viewers at home were glued to their screens. I'm not shaming anyone, Joy insisted, but her voice wavered. I'm just saying people need to take responsibility for their happiness. And what about the people who are taking responsibility? Danny demanded. The ones in therapy, on medication, doing everything they can to manage their mental health. Are they not trying hard enough for you, Joy? That's not what I said, Joy stammered. It's exactly what you said, Danny roared. You said mental health is just attitude. You said people just need to choose to be positive. Do you know how harmful that is? Do you realize there are people watching right now who might stop their medication because you just told them their illness is all in their head? Joy's composure was crumbling. I never said anyone should stop taking medication. You didn't have to, Danny cut in. When you say depression is just a bad attitude, what do you think happens next when you call anxiety being soft? What's a logical conclusion? The other hosts looked like deer in headlights, desperate to defuse, but too stunned to act. I think you're putting words in my mouth, Joy said, her voice weak. And my Danny pulled out his phone. Should I play back what you said? Should we roll the tape? Because I guarantee everyone in this audience heard exactly what I heard. The audience murmured, nodding in agreement. Joy's face flushed deeper, her confidence eroding. Fine, she said, crossing her arms. Maybe I could have chosen my words better. But my point stands, too many people use mental health as a crutch instead of doing the hard work of improving their lives. Danny stared at her, incredulous. A crutch? You just called mental health conditions a crutch on live TV. Do you hear yourself? I didn't call mental health conditions a crutch, Joy backpedaled. I said some people use them as a crutch. Who? Joy, Danny demanded, leaning, in which young actors are using depression as a crutch, which ones are faking anxiety for attention. Give me names, give me examples. Joy floundered, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Him speaking generally. She mumbled, "No, you're not." Danny snapped, "You're making specific accusations without evidence. You're perpetuating stereotypes that are dismissed and marginalized people with mental health issues. For generations, the studio was silent, except for the faint hum of cameras. Every eye was on this clash, which had spiraled far beyond anyone's expectations. You know what the real problem is, Joy." Danny continued, his voice blazing. "The real problem is people like you who think they get to decide whose pain is valid. You think suffering has to be visible to count. You think it's only real if it comes with poverty or some acceptable struggle." Joy tried one last offense, him not judging anyone's pain, and just saying some people handle adversity better than others. "And there it is," Danny said, throwing his hands up. "Some people handle adversity better." Translation: some people are just stronger, tougher, better at being human. Do you realize how toxic that is? Joy's face was crimson, her makeup betraying stress lines. "You're deliberately twisting my words to make me look bad." "I don't need to make you look bad," Danny said coldly. "You're doing that all on your own. Every word out of your mouth is digging you deeper." One host finally piped up, voice trembling. "Maybe we should take a break." "No," Danny said, eyes locked on Joy. "We're not breaking this. It's too important. Joy started this, and we're finishing it." Joy straightened, trying to reclaim authority. "Fine, you want to finish it. I stand by what I said. This generation is too sensitive, too entitled, too quick to play the victim card." "The victim card," Danny repeated, shaking his head. "I've met actual victims, Joy, young actors who have attempted suicide because they couldn't handle the pressure and shame. I've held their hands in hospital rooms after overdoses. I've spoken at funerals for people who couldn't see another way out, and you call it the victim card." Audience members were visibly moved, some wiping tears. Joy's tone softened, but it felt rehearsed. "That's tragic. But those are extreme cases. I'm talking about the everyday whining about how hard their lives are hard." Danny exploded. "You think fame makes you immune to suffering. You think money erases trauma. You think success cures anxiety. Money and success give you resources most don't have." Joy said stubbornly, "These actors have the best therapists, the best treatment centers. What's their excuse?" "Their excuse," Danny's laugh was sharp, "their excuse for being human, for having the same brain chemistry as millions of others regardless of their bank account." Joy pressed on, frustrated. "When I see young actors complaining about their mental health while living in mansions, it's hard to have sympathy, and that is the problem," Danny said, pointing at her. "You think suffering is only valid if it's poor. You think pain only counts if it's broke. That's not how mental health works, Joy. That's not how humans work." The studio was a vacuum of sound. Even the crew had stopped moving, riveted by the showdown. "I never said their pain isn't real," Joy protested weakly. "You said mental health is just attitude," Danny reminded her. "You said it's a choice. You said people need to toughen up. If that's not dismissing their pain, what is?" Joy was cornered, every attempt to backtrack failing. "I think we'll have to agree to disagree," she said, voice shaking. "No," Danny said firmly. "This isn't about opinions. This is about human decency. This is about whether we perpetuate stigma or show compassion." "And plenty compassionate," Joy snapped. Her patience gone. "Really?" Danny's eyebrows shot up. "Is this compassion? Because from where I'm standing it looks like judgment, dismissal, and ignorance. You're so busy being politically correct you can't see the truth." Joy